evening and welcome to another edition of the Press Box. Brian Carson here with my co-host Kenny Warner. How you doing, Kenny?
Pretty good. How about yourself, Brian?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm hanging in there. Another Wednesday, another Press Box, and we're pleased to have our guest tonight, Bald Eagle Area Athletic Director Doug Dyke, longtime athletic director. How long have you been the AD at Bald Eagle?
This is my 30th year.
My God.
Yeah.
Time flies. Jeez. Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about the private-public school debate. I know you got your opinions on it. Plus, I want to also talk about the kind of run that Bald Eagle area sports has been having the last couple of years. You know, with the football, the baseball, the softball, the wrestling. I mean, you name it, you guys have been good at it. So we got a lot to talk about. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. So, we've been lucky, to have a good group of kids coming through. I mean, a school our size graduating now around between 105 and 120 kids in a class. I mean, you gotta get lucky almost, to have good groups of kids coming through. So we're finishing up, I'd say, after next year, and I'm not trying to knock the younger kids, but we're gonna finish up a run here after next year, and then it might get a little thin for a little while before the next well-rounded group comes through. Now things can change, but just looking ahead right now, I'd say we're in for a couple lean years after next year.
Oh, even in the wrestling?
I mean, yeah, you're gonna have some good individuals, but yeah, we didn't field a full junior high team this year. Now again, things can change. I mean, you get some kids out maybe that have participated when they're younger and gotten out for a little bit, but the classes aren't very big. First of all, I can pull that up here while we're talking. But when you went to school, when did you graduate from Bald Eagle?
I'm old, man. It was 84.
Yeah. So back then, they were graduating, 215 to 230. I think in 89, we were 228. Then in the early 70s were the biggest classes, 270, back when that plant that I can never remember the name of it was running up in Quahana with the airplane engines or whatever. So Pine Glen, took off. That's when they added the Pine Glen Elementary School. So I'm looking here right now. Our biggest class in 6 through 12 is 131 kids. That's this year's seniors.
Wow.
11th grade's only 115.
Wow.
Our kindergarten and second grade is 99. And when I started 30 years ago, we had 7 through 12, and we had almost 1,200 kids in the building. Now we're 6 through 12, and we're at 864.
Jeez, that's a drop off.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, everybody's seeing that to a point, but yeah, ours has been pretty drastic. So,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but your dog has got the coolest seat in the house.
Oh, do you see him back there?
Right by the window.
That's Willie Stargell Dyke. I got to finally name a dog. That's my boy Willie.
Hi, Willie. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, so Mom got rid of his couch, but she came through with a step, and then she's got this thing that makes your windowsill bigger. That's where he hangs out.
Isn't that cool, Kenny? Just hanging out by the window, man.
Oh, yeah, trust me. If someone comes by with a dog, you'll know it.
So, before we get into the private-public school debate thing, let's talk about what made you want to be an AD in the first place.
Well, just I grew up liking sports, and when I helped in high school with Coach Stoker back in the football days, ordering equipment, fixing equipment, I actually got to know some of this, there's sales reps, just being around sports. I went to school to be a teacher because, you don't make a lot of money as an athletic director unless you're lucky to be an AD at a school that's, can afford to pay someone just for that position. But luckily, I was out of high school, working at the hospital center, or let's go Wet Mountain Nittany Medical, and the attendance position open and athletics. So my official title is home and school visitor, which I'm in charge of attendance grades K through 12. I have some other duties: homeless student liaison, foster student liaison. So I got a lot of titles, but the main two, and I don't mean to sound like the main two, is home and school visitor and then athletic director. And then
And
I love bald eagle. You know what I mean? So
oh yeah, I know.
I haven't left, even though sometimes, not that I really ever wanted to leave, but sometimes you think, oh, well, maybe I could go somewhere and make more money. But then in the end, that wasn't what was driving me.
The Eagles, especially, I don't have to tell you, especially way back with Dick Rhodes and the wrestling. It seems that they've always been good sports wise. I mean, not all the time, but most of the time, yeah. And it's like, well, the wrestling speaks for itself. Any old timer knows out there how much Bald Eagle area dominated wrestling in the 80s and late 70s. What do you think attributes to that?
Well, I do think it, you don't have a lot of, I say don't have a lot of money, it's a middle to lower income area. People grew up there a lot especially back in the day. So you're talking second generation, third generation, people that played sports there. And to be honest with you, when we see our best groups, best teams, a lot of times those parents were successful. So they kind of, even though parents are a little different now than they were in the 80s and 90s and early they still, for the most part, let you do, or those kids can be coached a little differently. Um, I don't want to say this. They can take a little criticism, not self criticism, but critical coaching, critical teaching. Now everybody wants their kids to be the starters and everything, but luckily you have some people that value the team over the individual. Now sometimes we have some issues with folks, even on these good teams, where you have parents that just get caught up into wanting their kid. Here's the difference, Brian. So I was on that referee Rich show on Channel 8 and whatever, and they asked me a question. I said, well, here's the difference when you hire a new coach. Okay, so you used to hire a new coach, he or she had a year before you were an idiot or didn't know what you're talking about. I don't want to say this. Coach, he had a year. And then he or she had a year. Finally, we're up to the point now when they get hired that half of them already think you're an idiot and the other half think you won by the first week of practice. So it's also now the parents that complain aren't always complaining for playing time. Their kids are playing every inning of every game, or they're wrestling in every match. It's just that's not the right weight class, or they should be playing first base instead of playing left field. And it's like, and you literally ruin teams from the inside out. It's not your opponents that beat you. A lot of times it's the talk at home and on social media that starts to, so you always got to guard against that now. That's your biggest enemy. So I don't know if that answers your question. But
yeah.
Luckily, even though you do get, it comes down to where there's some local pride. I think what the big difference now is a lot of programs or a lot of schools don't have as much local people attending or coaching. And we've been lucky to have people that are, from the school district or have moved in and become part of the school district. So, that helps a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of times you see up there, it is a lot of the coaches are, you know, returning athletes that went to school there. Ronnie Gano, Jesse Nagel. And what do you, and that's great hires, by the way. What are you looking for when you hire a coach? What
Well, I mean,
qualities?
qualities. I mean, you want someone that's going to be, um, when I say fair, meaning that can, look at it from the broader window, so to speak, of what's best for the kids. But also, if you're a varsity head coach, realizing that we varsity sports, we play to win league and district and state championships. So I mean, if that means you play a freshman and they're the better kid, then you play the freshman. um you know uh but you look at people, first of all, that are willing to put in time that they're not compensated for. um you know, because a lot of the time that develops a program is not done during the quote pay season that you're being paid for, as far as school board members are concerned, or the average Joe public. Jesse's doing a lot of his work now, 7-on-7s and just Sunday workouts and Thursday night workouts. And, Ronnie and them, I never thought wrestling would be like AAU basketball, but it's just as crazy as all the other sports now. You can wrestle every weekend for
Yeah,
people you don't even know. But now they don't go crazy, but they still do stuff. Wally, Kyle Wallace, and Eddie Hockenberry, will take the kids, and Ronnie, but they'll take the kids to these out of season tournaments. I mean, all our coaches do out of season stuff. Some do a little bit more because their families, if you're grown, they don't have their families yet. That's the other thing you got to watch is
Doug.
you guys.
Oh, he was back for a
Yeah,
second.
there we
There
go.
he is. There he
Sorry.
is.
Well,
Yeah, it's okay.
phone calls. It's only 7:47, so they're still going to be calling. But so what were we talking? Oh, just you got to watch that they are taking care of their families. Luckily, some of the coaches have their kids right involved, even though sometimes that causes issues with some people. But you just, if you can find people that have a passion already for your program, hopefully you can work with them to make them good coaches or whatever. But that's the big thing, is having the passion, because it's all year round, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but anyway, yeah, we've been lucky. You nailed a couple. We've got some other ones that maybe the programs don't do as well, wins and losses, but just the fact that they put the time and effort in and are willing to do it, is huge, because a lot of schools have revolving doors, because people just get frustrated. They get tired of all the the negativity, and schools are asking you to do more and more. The PIAA asks you to do more and more, take yearly courses, take 2 college level courses within your first 2 years. It's harder to get jobs that'll let you leave to go to the games. So, and of course, you got to worry about getting officials and bus drivers. I think sooner or later we're going to be like some other states, where you're going to have coaches driving the buses.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, can you imagine Alex Murniak driving a bus? Oh my God.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I just got a visual in my head.
Oh yeah. Trying to drive the van or drive the bus, drink coffee at the same time, probably not a good thing. But so it's getting crazy. I mean, now when you go to schedule a baseball or softball game, when it's canceled, you don't check with the opponents first. You check with your assigner and say, hey, what days are you totally blocking out? No officials are available. And then you go to your bus company and say, is there any days you don't have drivers? Oh, okay, you don't have drivers these days. And then the school comes back and says, well, these are the days it works. And then you got to go to your school and say, do we have any vans? So now sometimes I help drive teams to the event.
Wow.
Yeah, and hey, I love it, but I mean, Yeah, people don't realize a lot of what goes on in the background. So, but again, it does teach kids a lot of lessons. Some people I know are like, "What's the big deal with sports?" And sometimes we are crazy about it. You can hire a teacher, you can hire a new superintendent, like we just did, and no one comes to school board meetings to even pitch a candidate. But you try to get rid of a coach, or you have a couple people interested in a coaching position, you'll have to move it to the auditorium, and you'll have 400 or 500 people show up. You know what I mean? It's crazy sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But I still love it.
But I know even down here, I've talked to Tish McClay in Mifflin County, and she has a heck of a time as far as getting drivers.
Oh yeah.
It's all over.
And the kids aren't coming out in the numbers. They got a lot of other stuff to do. And if you aren't making them happy, you can lose a lot of kids from year to year. You know what I mean? I mean, they're playing, but they're just not having fun. And, so that's worrisome,
I got to ask you about, you guys went to Laurel Highlands.
Uh-huh.
No more Mountain League. What are your thoughts on this first year in the Laurel Highlands? What do you think?
There's been some things we've learned as a group that we'll need to tweak at some point. And there's been other ones that I think have gone better. Even some of my coaches may not agree with me on some things. But I guess what people don't realize, because I had Senator Corcoran asking me Saturday at the Spike Stadium, we had the first, Happy Valley Hardball Classic. And he's like, I don't like this LHAC and I'm like, well, we were 8 schools and we were close to being possibly 5 real quick when you have Clearfield saying, if we feel this is getting unstable, we're going to bolt to District 9 League. And you had PO and Penns Valley trying to join the ICC. So, we had to do something to, kind of put ourselves in a situation where, we weren't getting stuck with, with the proverbial pants down, so to speak. You know what I mean? And they came to us. First of all, they were the ones that we would never talk about, because why would they come to us? They already had, 12 schools?
Yeah.
They had an even number. Why would they come to us? But some people in their leadership, maybe not in the AD leadership, but higher in the school districts that maybe are involved in District 6, would kind of like to see District 6 become a smaller version of WPIL, where you play in your classes and, you could regionalize. I mean, that's what would be great, that we could regionalize sports. So, like, we're bigger than West Branch, but we, to be honest with you, we could be playing them in a lot more sports size-wise. Now, some people be like, their competition is good, and we have to watch. Like the Laurel Highlands. In some sports, I don't think our teams get as prepared for playoffs as we used to. But they can also say that about our basketball. I mean, that's a basketball league, man. We got some throttle jobs done to us this year, and parents were complaining, and I'm like, hey, look. They're going to say the same thing in baseball and softball season, So, but of course, are we going to lose kids because, so we've talked about tweaking like that a little, like, we don't play in basketball. We don't play Bellefonte, Penns Valley, and PO twice. Well, Center County, pardon the slang, sucks in basketball. But if we all play each other twice, you can generate interest. And it helps the programs out. And then Richland and them don't want to play us. No, we don't play. They need to play each other twice. Forest Hill should be playing Richland twice. Should be playing Westmont. You know what I mean? So you can see tweaks like that coming. Wrestling, I don't think is going to change. You got half the group that wants to wrestle, 10 dual meets, and then you have the other half that loves that the league is, we only have 5 matches that we have to wrestle, and then that tournament. So I don't see that changing. Wrestling's the one, because I know you love it, where to me they're in a dilemma. They want to go to all these big tournaments, but then the local people don't get to see much wrestling. unless they're willing to travel. And your diehards, I mean, you go to a wrestling crowd now, Brian, you and I are still young. You know,
Are we? Yes. No, we.
yeah. Hey, let's put it this way. I like to think I am. You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking the the older fans, the diehards, but this year we gave up one to go to Lock Haven because they were honoring Mike Millward, and but we only had then 3 home dual meets. Thank goodness we got to hold the team duels. That was like having a few more. But
Yeah.
So sorry, I don't mean to ramble, but
No, ramble. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of things I think people don't about the LHAC don't understand. Yeah. For me, as an AD, it's easier. I mean, they're handing me a full football schedule and a scrimmage where we used to have to go look for 3 games. I mean, you look back over the schedules in my 30 years, teams that you never thought we'd play: Montauk, Keystone, what's it called? Sharpsville. You know what I mean? Like, but we had to do that. So there's some, things that people just have to realize you can't have what you used to have. I mean, ideally, Mifflin County's still 2 schools. I mean, State College would have broken into 2 schools, which I think would have been better because then, more kids, more opportunities. Think about that. If you had 2 schools in State College and you still had, the 2 in Mifflin County and, oh my God, but it isn't that way. It's just a pipe dream.
Yeah. A lot of consolidation going on.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and that'll come up later when we talk about my testimony for Tuesday's hearing.
Yes, we're going to get to that. I promise.
Yeah, just hit that. So,
Kenny,
Yes.
You got anything, buddy? You want to ask Doug?
Yeah, you guys have a great program in the Eagles Ambassador. Kind of tell the everyone what it's about and how it's helped the some of the fans get a chance to see the games that they may not have been able to get to.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because really, so Eagle Ambassadors was started way back when Mr. Fisher was still the superintendent. Brian knows him. I don't even know how many years ago that is now.
Oh man, wow.
Years yeah. So, but it truly is supposed to be. It is a 501(c) organization that was started to raise money.
Whoop. We'll get him back. I hear you.
Okay. So, it was started to do that, and it was doing that before COVID. But one of the persons involved, her name's Karen Urbanik, her husband was one of our IT guys. He got thinking like, hey, we should, stream some athletic events. And he did some interviews of the 1963 football team and some of the old wrestling coaches, so if you go on there and really look, there's some great things that he did. But anyway, and then COVID hit. So the whole money raising thing kind of just hit the skid, so to speak. And it got bigger in the broadcasting, but we were doing it probably 4 years or so before, 4 years or so before COVID. And now people just expect it. I mean, don't get me wrong. We love doing it, but my God, if something goes wrong on a Friday night at 7:05 or 7:00, stay away from me. Cause I'm liable. I'm liable to actually kill somebody because my phone starts blowing up and you're like, yeah, like I don't know, it's not working. You know what I mean? Like, but it really has been fun. I mean, yeah, we wanted more kids involved, and some years we do get kids involved, but we do have Todd Warner and Steve Miller that do the football, and Todd Warner and his son-in-law, the cowboy, whose name Adam Day, that help, but some groups of kids get involved. I had a 7th grade boy this year tell me, Mr. Dyke, anytime I can announce, I want to do it. I'm like, it's all yours, buddy. But he plays a lot of sports. So, but and it's a big thing now with the PIAA in District 6 because they're also losing spectators. So, and I get it. Like, it may cost more to stream because they are losing some revenue, which does pay for like our schools memberships to the PIAA District 6 pays for. And, so, but, I have a lot of fun. We started doing baseball and softball games this year.
I know.
And I do it usually by myself, and then the folks in the press box, scoreboard operator, announcers, they're chiming in. But it's also a way for me to kind of have fun, but also talk about the kids more. But yeah, we enjoy it. And like I said, though, it's come with the curse because like the school doesn't want us to go to a pay thing, like the NFHS, which you get paid a monthly fee. You pay a monthly fee to be a member.
Yeah.
Which, when you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, $11 a month is not that much. If it saves you one trip to an event, you make your money. But, and as I told them, and they didn't like me to say it the way I did, but like finding someone just to run a camera for a junior high soccer game is not easy. And I'm not going to do it. I don't mean to sound, like I got to be at enough events. If there's a night where I can be at home, even though Willie's a dog, Willie needs some time with Dad too,
That's right.
But no, so we enjoy it. Hopefully next year for wrestling, Brian, we're trying to figure out a way, and hopefully Phil will let us and stuff where we could put cameras at each mat, so we're never shooting through someone, and we can switch to the mats. We might do that in football where we say we put a camera in the end zone, just a standard. But
Right.
then have that view at some point to switch. Not go totally crazy. I mean, some schools have, kids that can produce stuff and they have, really top shelf equipment. I don't think we'll ever get that far, but, we want to add to it.
No, I think it's great. I watched a lot of Bald Eagle football. I watched the District 6 AA Doles. It's a great thing. And I've heard you personally get mad.
Yeah.
I heard you. There was one game where I guess you guys had the iPad for the camera instead, and somebody complained, and I heard Kenny in the background. I heard Doug right away going off.
Oh. Yeah. Sometimes my filter's still not as good as it should be, but I've also learned sometimes, not that you want to be a jerk, but sometimes you just got to be honest and be like, we're doing the best we can. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love it when a grandfather from West Virginia sends you a check for $50 and says, "This is so great. We get to watch our granddaughter play junior high soccer." And so I know some ADs are like, "You're crazy for doing all that." Well, call me crazy. And some of the coaches like Jesse are like, "Why can't we tape delay it? It's hurting our attendance," which I can't deny that it's maybe hurting it some. But if some kid's aunt in Florida can watch her nephew play a football game, or, Jim Gardner can go to Jamaica and watch a wrestling match, then I think that's just cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good thing. And,
Yes.
what I loved this year about it is Todd Warner, the Bald Eagle trivia he pulls out of his ass.
Wow.
It's like, this is like only the third time in history.
Oh.
Reminded me of Bob Hauer.
Wow. Here's the thing. I love him. And sometimes the kids will be like, "Mr. Dyke, is that true or is that accurate?" And I'll look at him and say, "I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know for sure. But, I'm going to go with it because he says it is and he volunteers his time. Now those suckers last year, if you were listening, they ended up getting all kinds of food for us in the press box like the last
Yeah.
year. I mean, I was just sitting downstairs eating chicken and noodles, and Mrs. Eric Clark's grandmother made these freaking cookies that were just, oh my God.
I remember that game. Todd was he was doing was talking about the cookies.
Well, I went home and I didn't get sick, but I literally had a stomach ache because I ate too many cookies. I felt like a little kid again because my wife's like, "What is your problem?" I'm like, "I ate too many of Mrs. Clark's cookies."
But I think you're right. I think it's good for people who, live in other states, can't get there or whatever, and they can watch the games.
Right. And even if they're local and just out. And then I have the American Legion from Milesburg and Clarence. Well, more Clarence and the Legion and Moose chiming in. But the guy was telling me down at the Milesburg, Legion that, especially during football there, when they started going on their roll, Yeah, they've had a couple 300 people at the Legion all watching the Bald Eagle football game. And that's awesome because, first of all, they do a lot of service, not just to the schools, but, to veterans and everything. But I mean, if that's a way to get people to see our kids, because we get very little. Let me rephrase it. Kenny does a good job with his website and helping Zach out at the Express. But when it comes to Center County coverage, we don't get anything anymore. Like, say whatever, and I'm not going to talk about it, but, we were getting a little bit from the Center County Gazette, but that's, gone away for other reasons. But, so if we don't get it from Kenny or Zach at the Express, we don't get much. So that's why I do all the Facebook summaries on our Bald Eagle Area Athletics Facebook page. I try to write a little thing about every event if I can't steal it from Kenny or Zach Powell, or in wrestling and football. The guy that helps the CDT. I can't think of his name. He doesn't work there anymore. He strings for him from Penn State. But
Cobbler.
What's that?
Nate Cobbler.
Yeah, Nate. You know what I mean? And then he got in trouble for sharing his stories with me.
Did he?
Wow.
Yeah, he kind of got to do it anymore. And I'm like, I get it. But I'm like, are you kidding me?
No, that's bullshit.
You can. Yeah, because here's the thing. If we were so important to them, then they'd have somebody at he was at that event. But I mean, overall, they'd be covering high school sports. Mm-hmm. So are we really stealing that much money from them but I said, I understand. I don't want to get you in trouble, So he but he'll help me out with stuff. Willie wants to play. I can't play right now, buddy. It's really changed a lot, in 30 years. I mean, when I first started, we didn't have soccer and volleyball my first year. The second or third year they came in, I mean, and junior high sports is just, taken off and stuff. So, and now, girls wrestling, which is cool.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, last year we had here's the thing. The year before, when it wasn't a sanctioned sport, they could go and wrestle 500 times, and they could go to tournaments and, but then last year they're sanctioned. And so our parents, were complaining a little bit. And of course, it's the first year where, and you're asking coaches to do double duty. But anyway, when I finally sat down with them, some of our girls had wrestled more matches than our boys. And their points weren't that far off. They went to some tournaments, but, it adds up quick. You go to 4 or 5 tournaments and then you have some dual meets. And this year we're going to try to get some more dual meets. But as you well know, the biggest problem is, if we only have 3 or 4 kids and they only have 3 or 4 kids and they're not in the same weight class, it's not really much of a dual meet. So it's coming. I thought we'd have more kids by now. So hopefully we start to see a few more kids, come out for it. I know the elementary program has some girls that are out for it. But again, if you're talking only 110 kids per class, so you split that in half, so 55 girls, you got to share them with your drama, your marching band. You have all these sports. You can't be adding too many more sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it's just, where are they going to come from? So anyway, that's that.
I was surprised down here in Mifflin County had no girls come out for wrestling. None.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't know that. So they didn't have girls.
No, none.
Have they added the program, or since they don't have it, they haven't added it?
They haven't added it. I think there's 2 girls I know that are wrestling down in the Swineford sisters are wrestling down in elementary, but that's all I know of.
Okay. Well, and it might take a while. Excuse me. It might take a while in a couple places, but some of these girls. I mean, it's. I saw some of them. We had a tournament at our place. I didn't see a lot that day, but I mean, just walking around, you see some kids that are trying wrestling, and then you see some. You're like, okay, she's the real deal. Like she looks like a wrestler, boy or girl. She looks like a wrestler. So that was kind of neat. This year, hopefully I can be around for that day just to see more. But Yeah, that's been exciting. Grace Stem was such a great kid.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
To kind of lead it off for us. You know what I mean? Like, she deserves all the accolades she gets because she's a good kid. She's like the Quentin Wright of girls wrestling at Bald Eagle, at least in my tenure.
Quentin who? That
What?
was a joke.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. Well, we kind of disowned him. No, I'm just kidding.
Tyrone.
I know. Of all, boy, I tell you what, Todd Warner of all people. Now he's done a good job, but they're even having someone like him. He's battling up there. You know what I mean? Because their numbers are down, and they have a good basketball program. So I mean, he's got to figure out a way to get kids out to the most grueling individual sport there is, and keep them out. And that's not easy.
I do remember the good old days, though, where, there was a Bald Eagle Clearfield match in '86. I was out of school then. And this is when rankings just started coming out, and they were 1 and 2 in the state. And there was so many people at the Eagle gym that they had to put closed circuit TV in the cafeteria.
Yeah, we had that early on in my career for Brookville. And that was cool. Yeah, I remember that. Big deal. Put the TV camera, Mr. Corkle, where they put it up behind it, and stuff. And how much work that was just to pull that off. And now you can just put an iPad on top of a, what do you call it?
Little tripod.
Tripod. And as long as you have your little MiFi thing or whatever there, you can send that sucker all over the world, So yeah, it's a whole different ball game than what it was even when I feel every time I say it, I feel so old. It's a whole different ball game than when I started.
It is though, buddy. It is.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing 30 years. Go ahead, buddy.
No, that's all right. I mean, yeah, you've been doing that 30 years, you said. This is my 32nd year of sports writing and that.
Yeah, and see,
we are old school.
Yeah, we are old school, and there's not a lot of people around like in your profession. I mean, again, it sounds like I'm picking on the CDT, but that's what I have to go by. I mean, Ron Bracken retires, Walt Moody goes to Virginia, Gordon Brunskill, they kind of just, run him out. So to speak, and then you've got no real tie-in. I mean, it's all about Penn State. So, we got to do whatever we can. That's why when you said about doing this, I'm like, absolutely. Hopefully you'll send me the link, because not even just for me, but then maybe I didn't know about it, and that's my own dumb fault. But now, I can listen, maybe not, every week, but we can share this on our Facebook page stuff, so you guys can get more listeners.
We've had Jesse on here a couple of times.
Well, I know people get desperate sometimes for an interview, but no, I'll tell you what, he applied a couple times, and for whatever reason, but finally it was like, you know what, he deserves a shot. It's time for him to put up or shut up. Let's see.
I think he put up.
Yeah, he has. I mean, and like I tell people, he's getting better every year. And now he has to deal with, Carson being there. And that's not easy. It's not easy to be a dad and have your kid, let alone be the quarterback. And,
right.
Right.
And then there's another son, that's difficult too, because, he's playing in the shadows of his brother. And, you know what I mean? The people just don't think about that. They just, oh yeah, he's the coach, for $7,000 a year, he's supposed to take all this abuse. No. And people just aren't. It's not like like you get mad at the game and it's over with, or at least you thought it was over with because you didn't have to read about it on Facebook or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But it's like I said, for every good thing, or for every 10 good things, there's a couple you wish you could not have, but it's still the best game in town.
Talk about what's happened this last year or so. You've had the football team go to the semis and gave Southern Columbia everything they could handle. baseball wins a state title, softball runner-up, wrestling runner-up in District 6. I mean, do you ever remember like having a year like this?
Well, I mean, 1999.
Mine is wrestling and track.
Right, was pretty good. And then, in 2006, softball was. Did they win a title? This is embarrassing. Did they win a title that year? They played in the finals, at least in softball. Basketball won their only ever district title, played in the state quarterfinals, and really should have won. Blew a game that they should have won. So, I mean, yeah, we've had a couple runs like this, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, and I'm not saying they're going to this year, but those two, softball and baseball, they have the ability to make a long run again. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
it gets hard. That second and third time, it's harder and harder because, like I said, parents can be our worst enemy, and I don't even think they mean to. But yeah, it's fun. Hey, I'll tell you this: 1999 wrestling was awesome. I mean, my kids were really young, so I'm with Ron Bracken and John Dixon down at the old Hershey.
Oh my God, Jay Wally.
Yeah, Jay Wall. And just that was a great night. It was great. Actually, the better night was at Clarion when they wrestled twice. Who'd we wrestle? McGuffey in the second match, and Kurt Thompson that had the big fall. But anyway, I mean, just sorry, some of it I can't remember exactly, but and then the track meet, be honest with you, I didn't go down there to expect to watch the state championship. I'll tell you how much I didn't expect it. We didn't stick around for that last relay because my son, it was so hot and everything. Everybody.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So we left, not realizing what was going to happen. And then the softball and baseball, with the softball 4 trips to the finals, baseball winning it. But the best one ever so far, and I don't know how someone's going to beat it, was the bocce kids winning the state title. The first year we had unified bocce, which I don't know if you know what that, unified.
Oh yeah, Mifflin County has it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. First of all, when we met with the guy, Jeff Miles is like, dude, we're going to have weightlifting. We're going to have, conditioning. And this guy's looking at us like, are they serious? And Jeff just said jokingly, like, hey man, we put teams in, we expect banners, right? And there that first year, we're just, next down at Hershey, and we're at Giant Arena, and playing before Bellwood-Annis girls basketball team played, I think, for their second title. So when this last bocce match is going on, there's probably a couple thousand people in the Giant Arena. And our normal, when I say normal, they call them athletes and buddies, I think. This is embarrassing. But our kids that don't have disabilities, those, I can't, if you can't see my hand, they were just, they did this, man. They couldn't do anything right. And the special ed kids, the kids with disabilities, some of them still to this day, I don't think realize what they were even doing at that time, meaning, what the significance of it was.
Right.
And the stuff they did, I mean, it was incredible. And the kids are back at the school. I can't remember if we were trying to stream it on our phones, you know what I mean? But it was a big deal. And, that was just incredible. I mean, just have those kids do that and everything. But, oh yeah, I mean, I still get pretty wound up in the playoffs. I try to go off by myself, and so I don't.
I think Willie's wound up.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all right.
Somebody's walking by, or the boys across the street are playing basketball. So,
Willie's guarding the house, man. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's awesome. I mean, we built a house 24 years ago, and a mile from the school. That made a big difference,
Mm-hmm.
So, because my kids got to be up there a lot. I mean, that's one thing with Jesse's kids. His daughter helps with the being a manager, and his wife helps out, and other coaches, wives help out, and you got to be able to be flexible so they can have their family life, within reason. So, He wants to go outside. I'll walk over. So this is kind of what's good. I can walk over. We put a door. He's got a door so he can go out through the screen door himself. But Kelly always closes the main door.
He's
and then
fired up.
Oh, he gets all fired up. So sorry.
It's all right. Now we'll get to the meaty question. I saved it for our last discussion here. You're going to Harrisburg. And when is that?
Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock. We have the Commerce Committee, what do you call it? Hearing or whatever. But if the House Bill 1983 is in the Education Committee, but the only way he could get a hearing, he meaning Representative Scott Conklin, was to have it in the Commerce Committee because he's the chairman. I mean, it's politics at its finest, and it's Democrats versus Democrats. It's not Republicans versus Democrats, liberals versus conservatives. You get down to it, it's as Scott and referred to it as it's boundary school graduates versus non-boundary school graduates. And go ahead, you can. They asked me to come down for a hearing to talk about House Bill 1983.
And by the way, thank you for the heart, Craig Bubb, junior out of softball coach. They are like destroying people this year.
I've heard about their team, but I've heard about the pitcher. I don't know her name.
Liz Gazer. She's got a couple days ago, Kenny. She became only the fourth pitcher in PIAA history to get 1,000 career strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. So
this year, I believe they've outscored their opponents 97-3 this year.
Wow. And
we
just had a game canceled today. Maybe if they need a game after the deadline, we could. I mean, that's when Dave Breon was our coach here. He always played Belfont a second time after the cutoff for power rating, Williamsport and State College. And he's like, we're not going to see 3 teams like that in a row in the state playoffs. He didn't care if he won any of them. He just wanted them to be competitive.
Right.
I say didn't care. There was a purpose for that. So, I would think, I don't know about Coach Lucas, but hey, if you could face that pitcher right before the playoffs start.
You better believe it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So where's she gone to school?
Fordham.
That's right. Dave, I think, works with her. He told me about that. That's awesome.
I'll tell you what, Dave Breon, what a guy. Dave Breon, I have no idea why. I think it's because of his style. He's a disciplinarian, but for some reason he came down here, coached at Lewistown when Lewistown was a school. Took them to their first ever playoff appearance. And you're talking about parents. They wanted him the hell out.
Well, hey, Dave, up front, my grandfather helped get Dave Breon started as a pitcher because that was his uncle. My dad and Dave are first cousins. So, I mean, I've known him since I can remember anything. Dave is a love him or hate him. I love him.
Yeah, I love him too. I did.
My one office assistant, she hates him. And, and we agree just to disagree. You know what I mean? But I know, I'm a people pleaser, but I also try to look at people for their good qualities in there. But you can't find a better softball coach. We let him go after a 6-year run where he went to 4 state finals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Lewistown softball was awful. And he took them to their first and only playoff appearance. And then they wanted them out because, like you mentioned, it was the parents' thing. Oh, my kid should be playing this position, or my kid should be playing this position. And you know how Dave is. Your kid will play where I say she's going to play.
Yeah. What we had here, I mean, of course, they never would tell me. I had to find out from him that he didn't get rehired, but that's a whole other story. But I always told people, if Dave Breon had to knock down his mother to win a game, he was going to knock down his mother. So if he had 2 girls that were going to, one girl's going to take him to state finals and another one wasn't, he's going to pick the one, even if she didn't play softball all year, even though he'd won her to. But people got caught up with his business, and they were alleging that certain people were only playing because they went to him for workouts. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, and it's like, that's funny. At first 6 years, that wasn't an issue, but now it is. But anyway, that's water under the bridge. You know, it's just, yeah, that's a whole other show.
Yes. So back to this now. It's the public and private school thing.
Yeah. So just so you know, at least for this argument, they're calling it boundary versus non-boundary.
Non-boundary. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, so Representative Conklin's whole purpose of his bill, at least as it's been explained to me, is to take out of the Pennsylvania School Code of 1949 that was what's the word when you add, there was a this is embarrassing, I got to pull up my testimony, but in 1972 there was a bill passed to attach to this Pennsylvania School Code that said, you know, non-boundary schools had to be included in the PIAA. Okay. So that's the argument everybody uses, leans on when they talk about trying to make changes, you know, with the way playoffs are run in Pennsylvania. And all Representative Conklin is asking is that be taken out of the legislation passed to take it out of the legislation and be put in the hands of the PIAA to take a look at. I'm pretty sure he's not offering his own suggestion. I mean, he probably has his own suggestions, but I would even tell him, and I would testify on Tuesday, that I don't think they should be involved. I understand why it was added in 1972 because the Catholic schools, because it was pretty much just Catholic schools, you know, were being, you know, treated as second-class citizens. And, you know, but that's 52 years ago. 52? Yeah.
Yeah.
52 years ago. Things have changed over 52 years. So why can't we take a look at this and say what's best for the kids? And most states, you know, because other states have already had this and tried different ways to do it. Some have worked, some haven't. But it's not just simply a non-starter. I mean, in Pennsylvania right now, it's simply just you can't do it. Don't even try it, because the not just the Catholic schools, but I know in my 30 years, I've had it said to my face by a Catholic person that said, we have more lobbyists and more lawyers that will just sue people till they can't try to do this anymore. And I'm like, but that's not what this is supposed to be about, you know. And here's my take on it. So you can go back how many years? I went back last year and I tallied up the state championships. I think there were 74 team titles. And I'm going off because I can't pull it up on my phone right now because I don't want to screw up our link. But I think there was 74 titles, and 52 of them were won by boundary schools. 22 were won by non-boundary. But of those 22 that were won by non-boundary, 13 of those were won in basketball, wrestling, and football. The three major sports.
Yeah.
So if you would take those three major, and this is just an idea that I would say to think about, but again, the whole purpose of this bill is just let the PIAA and its member schools look at this and decide if anything needs to be done. Maybe nothing needs to be done, or maybe it only needs to be done in single A, double A, and triple A in basketball, but not football. You know what I mean? Like, it should be across the board, because what I'm getting at is if you go back and look over the years, some of the sports, I don't think we're doing a service to the non-boundary kids, if you really want to think about it, because their softball teams aren't as good, or their volleyball team, you know. So maybe the answer is one less public level and give them their own so they can maybe have a better chance of winning a state title. You know what I mean? Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
But then in the basketball and the football and even the rest, again, I don't know if there's enough wrestling schools to have its own like class. Maybe just move them all to the bigger division again. But like, and a good example is in basketball, you go from 6 to 4 for the boundary schools, and you make 2. But if you have 4 boundary ones, that's 8. Correct me if I'm wrong. 2, 4. That's 8 finalists in boys, 8 finalists in girls. So that's 16 boundary schools now that can take their fans to Hershey or wherever, right?
Right.
So those 8 games, you're going to make so much more money than you make right now with your existing system. That if you have 4 games that are crappy attended because you have a Monty Christian that brings 8 fans, and I'm not trying to be, but I hear 30 fans. I mean, I've hosted games where even this year, where if we had 400 fans there, 350 of them were for one school and 50 were from the others, because I cordoned off the gym in half. So I got one half that's pretty much stacked full of people actually bleeding over into the other side. And I've got coaches from the private non-boundary schools, complaining. I'm like, where are they supposed to go? Like, if they act like idiots, we'll deal with it. But there's nowhere for them to go. They filled up their section, and you have 30 people here.
Yeah,
and again,
exactly.
You know what I mean? So if he put it in the commerce committee because he has to, there's another big bring up is boundary schools are paying the bills for the charter schools. So in a lot of ways, now maybe not Bald Eagle as much as far as athletes, but some of these other schools are paying these. We pay over $1 million and almost $1.3 million for charter school tuition. I can't imagine like what State College in Mifflin County and the bigger schools in the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh areas, but they're paying for these kids to go to these schools to then beat maybe their own kids in state championship games. You follow me?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. That's like me paying for your gas to go to work at a job that I want, but I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, hello, how's that make sense?
It doesn't.
It's not an equal playing field. But again, I think it can go both ways as far as who's having the opportunities to win. I mean, if we're truly looking out for all the kids, now they're only 24% of the schools. There are a lot more charter schools and there's a lot more non-boundary schools than there were in 1972. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot less boundary schools because you've had how many consolidations? Look, in Mifflin County alone in 72, was that when they were running 4 schools?
No, they were still in Penn Highlands then. But after Penn Highlands 73, there was Lewistown, Chief Logan, Kish, and Rothrock. 4 schools.
So they went to 4, but now they're back to 1. So there's 4 schools that are pretty much were gone when this, really kicked in. You had Bald Eagle, Nittany, and Lock Haven. Okay, now there's 1. So you're probably a lot closer in number. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again, 52 years ago, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have. So why can't we look at change there? Well, we don't look at it because, especially right now, those politicians are either graduates of Bethlehem Catholic, like the chairman of the state education committee, or they all want money from those organizations or people that are in groups to give them money that are private school. It's a personal thing. I get that. That's why I'm doing it. It's personal. But if you're talking, what is it, like 400,000 students versus 1.6 million? Why are the 400,000 getting the preferential treatment? You know what I mean? Like 24% of these school kids in Pennsylvania. And of course, then you get it. I'm not saying that boundary schools are perfect, and because Dr. Lombardi, who I get along with fine, and it's not a personal thing, but when he talks about, well, they recruit too. This isn't about recruiting. This is just about, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no right or wrong answer. I just want them to be able to say, you deal with high school athletics on a day-to-day basis, and you oversee the state athletic association. You should be making the decision, not legislators.
Yeah, but even if some boundary schools are recruiting, they can't recruit like the non-boundary schools. I mean, just look at this year with Bishop McCourt in wrestling.
Right.
I mean, that was the super team. I mean,
Right.
my God.
Well, see, and they just kind of, they took their penalty, which they did. They took their
Yeah.
But you're like, all right, we'll take our penalty, but in the end, we're going to do what we want to do anyway. And I don't know what the hard facts are there about, kids, working from home in another state a couple days a week, and then they come back up for wrestling on the week. I mean, I've heard all kinds of alleged stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
true.
I don't either. But I do know that, I mean, even if they're there now at Johnstown with McCourt, Lincoln Sledzinowski is from Florida. Jax Forrest is from North Carolina.
Right.
How do you think these kids knew what Bishop McCourt was?
No. I mean, they don't. That's the whole thing. Like, even if they're doing our cyber program, by law, they still supposed to be living in our school district. Now, again, I'm not going to say that there aren't times that people monkey with the system. I've been doing this 30 years, and I do a 10. You know what I mean? Like, people lie. I get that. It's just the blatant, like, in your face, like, we can do this, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, that's what drives me crazy. I laughed at it this year because, and Ronnie and them, I'd say, like, hey, I'm not making fun of you guys, but, like, you're just finding out what these other sports have found out 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It just made it to wrestling.
Was that like a form of protest this year? Ronnie basically put out the B team against McCourt. It was like, the hell with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yes, meaning it was a strategy, just like what did Westmont do? You remember that whole thing where
they send out all girls.
Yeah. To me, I laugh. I mean, to me, they didn't break any rules, but
no.
I mean, here's the thing. I'll be honest with you, when he did that, I'm just like, okay, I get it, but like, wow, some of those kids are like, wow, this is my first varsity experience, so I get to go up against, but it's funny. I thought we'd get more backlash just because of doing that. You know what I mean? But I have to say this about the rest, and I'm not saying you're knocking those kids, the actual.
Oh, I'm not.
No, you're not. I mean, holy smokes. I'm not hardcore like you and everything, but I mean, some of what I witnessed, I was just like, this is crazy. Like, and obviously, Jax Forrest at the Olympic trials, and like, that's just crazy. Like, to be honest with you, he has no business wrestling in high. It's not his fault, but he has no business even wrestling in high school.
Well, he proved it. Bassett proved it at Hershey when he had two in his 4 matches. He had 2 falls and 2 technical falls.
Oh yeah,
and only one kid got into the second period.
Yeah, I mean, it's just wow, But yeah, so and I guess what's frustrating to me is and we have time. I guess this is in committee till December, so it's not like this is a hurry up. But I said, so I started a change.org. This is embarrassing. Change.org petition. And I've sent it out to ADs all across the state, tried to, because I found some emails where other people were trying to send stuff out, and I've reached out to other people. I've gotten like 1,200 signatures. I've gotten 8,000 views, 1,200 signatures. If everybody in Bald Eagle School District in Bellefonte that has a kid that's been involved or is involved in sports and would, just really think about it and want just for this to be handled at the local or at the, athletic level, would just put their names on this, we should have 20, 30,000 signatures. But people just like to bitch about stuff, but then not do anything about it. Because I reached out to a couple of the newspaper guys from up in Erie and stuff. And again, is it Bob Greenberg?
I do not know.
And Tom's, I read them on X, and I've had them in our gym and stuff. Nice guys. So I'm like, I'm going to just show this to them. And, they brought up some good things about good, not arguments, but like stuff that they knows happened in the past. And, the one guy's like, hey, I don't blame you for doing your petition, but, having, 400 or 500 superintendents of boundary schools signing something as, a group would go a lot further. And I was like, no, that's a good point. Like, so I told Representative Conklin, I said, if you're really serious about this, you can't just have like one AD or one former football coach or current football coach. Like, if you really want to do this, you need to, and I can try to help, but you need to get all the coaching associations, if there are one, the football coaches or, but you need to get the school business manager, school board association, superintendents of the boundary schools to really put their money where their mouth is. I mean, think about the schools like Williamsburg and fans. They put they have a long tradition, but just the last couple of years with their girls, they had a dream of to win a state title, and they knew they were going to have to go through Bishop Guilfoyle. And they didn't quit, and they battled hard. But how much money did they spend, and they never got to go to the Giant Arena to play for a state championship? And what's wrong with doing it in a way where both those teams could have went? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you get out.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? I mean, they want high school sports to continue, interscholastic sports. Well, then do stuff so it doesn't die. Right now, you're killing it from the inside again because you're being too stubborn instead of saying, hey, how can we do this so kids want to do this more? Yeah, is it maybe watered down then a little bit? It was a lot harder to win a baseball title when we were AAA graduating 250 and we're playing Bethel Park with 650 in a class. Now you could also say, here we are, a little school playing with the big fish, but did we really have a chance? You know what I'm saying? So, but what's wrong? We've won how many state titles now since they've expanded the classifications? It's not been a bad thing for us. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So that's where it's when, I'm just saying, give them the opportunity to just look at it, because obviously they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They can look at mistakes being made at other schools or other states, because some states have tried stuff and gone back to, more conventional. Other states and some states, tried it in all levels, like say 1 through 6 in football, and realized 4, 5, and 6 really didn't have an argument to doing it. So then they did away with it. And there's only, trip 1 through 3. I think it was Georgia I was reading about, where there's a multiplier for those schools that size. I mean, a simple thing to me is, if you're going to go on enrollments, if you draw from 5 schools, then every school you draw from should count in your enrollments. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Then they'd be up a lot higher than what they are. You know what I'm saying? But, BG would be a quad A or 6A school because they're drawing from Altoona, Hollidaysburg, and some people would say, hey, that's not fair. I'm like, you chose to go there. You have a choice. I mean, all the kids have the choice, but do every kids really have the same equal choice? No, they don't. You can say that they do, but they don't, because who's going to drive a kid from even Pine Glen to State College every day to go to St. Joe's?
Not many.
Not many. You know what I'm saying? Where would Michigan kids go to a Catholic school? St. Joe's?
St. Joe's.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And we have some that are going there.
Yeah. And how do they get there? I'm not being like, how do they get there? Do they have to drive them? Or are they sending a van over the mountain every day?
I guess that's what I was told is that the school district, Mifflin County, has to bus them.
Oh,
has to pay for their trip over.
See, so again, Mifflin County could be paying for a kid to go. I just don't. I don't know. I'm admitting I'm looking at it from the boundary side thing, but can someone explain to me how if they could sue to get it so it's fair, so they're treated fairly 52 years ago, that same argument can't now work the other way?
Right.
But again, it's because even though we're bigger, these school districts, first of all, aren't all going to get involved in a lawsuit, where they're more centralized and they have that war chest that they can fight with lawsuits, and they also can buy votes. Let's just call it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's good.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the kids down. Carson Nagel's gone, Braden Dubs, and a young lady named Olivia Boone. They're just going to hopefully answer questions. But I thought, here's a good lesson for them to just see how government works, and
when it works.
When it works. Yeah. Here's the other argument I have, and then I'll shut up. This one person can take this bill and just say, you know what? And I'm not saying this is the only reason, but this is the way I'm going to portray it. I'm an Allentown Central Catholic graduate. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So we're just going to let it die in committee. Well, that's wrong in any bill.
Yeah.
Like if you have someone and you got it approved to go to this committee, that means people at least thought this should be discussed. So why can't you just have an up-down vote? And if your committee votes not to send it out, then it's dead. But one guy can just say, that's the way I understand it. Just, one guy says, hey, there's not enough there. And of course, if he doesn't have enough public people just, driving him nuts, and he doesn't have enough ammunition, it'll just die. You have to start all over again. So,
yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a good civics lesson or whatever, but I just don't like the fact that something that deals with this many kids and that, because if it was spun the other way where you could do something to help 1.6 million kids, they'd be out there just pounding the sidewalks and kissing babies and, and that's where people need to quit just complaining and do something about it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
take action.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think
go ahead.
I don't think enough have. That's my own personal opinion, but show me how you've done something about it. If you can show me you sent the guy an email, okay, you spoke your piece, but I don't think many have. So,
final question.
Mm-hmm.
With the dog named Willie Stargell, Dyke, you're obviously a Steeler fan too, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'm Pittsburgh.
All right.
Pitt Panthers, Steelers, Penguins, Pirates. Yeah.
Who do you?
Go ahead.
What? No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, people were like, "How can you like Pitt?" Well, my dad said I liked their helmets when Tony Dorsett was there, and they were on. I would watch the highlight show, and of course, it looked cool because the helmets weren't just white with a blue stripe, And then I got addicted to them. So, yeah, I'm Pittsburgh everything.
Okay, so the draft tomorrow, who do you want the Steelers to get? Have you thought about that?
Oh, yeah. So, who I want them to get, I'd like them to get either a center, and I like the kid from West Virginia, even though he's from West Virginia. I know he was
Zach
hurt.
Frazier.
Yeah. And the other guy I'd love him to get in the second round would be the linebacker from the NC State, number 16, whose he's an inside linebacker.
Peyton Wilson.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So but they're going to pick, I think, an offensive tackle. So they have their two tackles, and everything I've read and everything, it sounds like it's a good shot. It's going to be the other Georgia kid. I can't believe they would go for another corner when they got the corner from the Lions. This is funny. I know the teams. I can't remember his name. So they got Porter and they got this guy from the Lions. I think there's enough corners that they could go later for them. I say they need to go for a center or tackle in the first round.
All right.
Now, if they got a wide receiver, I wouldn't be mad at them, but I think they usually do a good enough job later picking wide receivers that, aren't the big names. So I trust them to pick somebody later in the draft to do that. But I can't wait. Did you ever watch the draft on the Pat McAfee extravaganza?
No, I never have actually.
Oh my God. I've almost peed my pants watching that. Those guys are hilarious. And the stuff they do with Mad Mel Kiper, and they do a Lou Holtz, and another guy does a Jay Glazer thing, and then they got Bill Belichick to do it with them.
I heard that Bill's going to be on.
So I mean, yeah, and not the but I'm just telling you, because that other one, I mean, after a while, you're just like, God, just pick a person, please. Like, pick it. With this one, sometimes you're so caught up in them being goofy and stuff, and they're talking football, but they're just, it's you and I talking, and they're saying whatever they want to, and then they go off on tangents about other stuff, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, hold on, the Steelers just picked, and then they're right back sometimes. But yeah, with Belichick coming on there, I think this could be really good. But my wife has come down the last 2 years and be like, I'm trying to sleep. You need to hold it down. So, and if so even go back and watch a couple old ones, a couple clips, or type in Mad Mel Kiper. Oh my God, it's fun.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, but seriously, thank you for having me on, you guys. And if you can send me the link to this one, but I'll put it on my Facebook page and say, hey, look, yes, I'm popping this up because I'm on it, this one. But, here's guys that some of you may know, or if you don't know, I'll put it out there for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. We'd like to get some more Bald Eagle people on. Like I said, we've had Jesse on a couple of times. Now you. I'd like to get Ronnie if he would come on.
I think he would. I mean, especially maybe get Ronnie and get the three of them somehow. Ronnie and Eddie and Kyle. They I'll tell you what, there's sometimes where I just shake my head and be like, but they're like you said earlier, they have a passion. And I'm sure, I know there's coaches out there that, I don't want to say despise them, but if they told these coaches the sky was blue, they'd say it's yellow, just because it's Bald Eagle and the coaches, because they advocate for their kids and all that. And I don't think that's a bad thing, overall. But I know we're not maybe as well liked as people want to believe we are. Some, because of our history, people are jealous and stuff. But, those guys put a lot of time into that program away from the regular season.
Yeah. Yes, they do. I know that.
Yeah. They would be good. Definitely. Anytime you want to talk to any of our kids or coaches, I'll do my best to, try to get them on. But I love this type of stuff.
Yeah, I'll get you the link. We stream this. It's live on our Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook.
And then
so I'll get.
And then people see, because like I'm still kind of new to this. Like people ask me, what's the Kelsey brothers? What's that one called? I don't even remember. But one of the parents at softball, there's like, oh, you got to watch that sometime. I'm like, yeah. The only thing I watch a lot is the McAfee, because I can have it on in the background, especially the first 2 hours now, because they can't swear as much because of being on ESPN. That third hour, I got to turn it way down because they get a little goofy. But I just, if you can sit and talk sports, especially high school, but for a couple hours, oh my God, that's awesome.
That's us.
Yeah.
We always tell everybody the show's an hour, and it always goes over an hour. Always.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I still trying to get track results typed in from yesterday, and I don't know if I will now. The Pirates actually came back and made it 3-2. It's in top of the 8th, but it was 2-0. They did a, what do you call it? They put reliever in, so he was only going so many batters or something, and he was doing fine. As soon as they took him out, they gave up 2 runs right before it was time to get on with you. And I'm like, I'm not watching you guys. And I happened to back on, and it's 3-2 now. So we'll see if they blow this one or not. So, but yeah, anytime you guys want to talk, and feel free, to give me a call. And if you talk to anybody else about this and they want to, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I want to say that I really tried to just get people to think about this from an open perspective. And like I said, when I'm not just advocating so then boundary schools can just, get what they want. I think they need to look at it overall, and they might think, oh my God, there's some sports here where these non-boundary schools need to be given their own classification just so they can have a better chance of winning.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes sense to look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, because I really don't know. Again, Nate Aldhouse put a lot of time into putting something together for me that there's so much there. I didn't really get to talk about it in my testimony, but there's a lot of data out there and how you want to not spin it, but I'm just trying to keep it simple, use current numbers. But the biggest thing is, I sat there when I was writing this, and I'll shut up, I know, 52 years. We're talking about something that hasn't changed for 52 years.
Right.
Name something in education and anything that hasn't changed in 52 years.
This.
Yeah, because I can't think of something else that is as big in people's lives in the state of Pennsylvania. What hasn't changed for 52 years?
Right.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. So they might regret having me come down there, but I'll behave myself.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend, for coming on.
Thanks. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No problem. You guys, thank you for what you do for the kids. Even though when I say this, it's not just for our kids. You do it for the right reason, and I hope people appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate. Come back anytime you want. Good night, Willie Stargell.
Yeah, he's already
Dyke.
He's already upstairs. He got his brush. He gets a little dental thing every night. That's why he was fussing, because I'm like, what does he want? And then I realized, these dogs, they get used to something, man. If you're 5 minutes late, I'm like, oh my God, he hasn't had his brushy yet. So
Creatures are habit.
Yeah, he's upstairs with mom now.
All right, bud. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Take care.
Thanks, Doug.
See you soon, Brian. Kenny.
Yep.
Hope I'll see you. You coming up tomorrow for anything?
I'm not sure.
That's right. I just wondered. I think we're going to see Zach for baseball because it's Central Mountain Bald Eagle. And I'll just put this out there. If you're looking for a good baseball game tomorrow, we'll have it on YouTube, 4:30.
All right. There you go. Eagle Ambassadors.
Yep. Hey, take care. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep. See you, buddy. Take care.
See you, dude. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
We appreciate that. Doug Dyke. Nice then. We a lot of stuff we discussed. Bald Eagle Sports, the big one with going down to the Capitol on Tuesday. What about you, my friend? Any shout outs?
Oh, I got shout outs.
All right, let me get the music up. Before we get to your shout outs, thank you, Pee Wee, for the like. Pee Wee Duncan, one of our regulars. All right, go for it, Kenny.
All right. We'll start with Bald Eagle. Bald Eagle softball player shout out to Ava Steer, who hit her 100th career hit recently. So she's I think she's the fourth batter in the lineup. Very potent lineup.
Way to go, Ava.
Yeah. Next is Liz Gazier.
Who?
He had a softball pitcher. I guess it feels like if I had a dime for every time we've mentioned her, she continues to roll through her competition. She's on her way to hopefully taking the all-time strikeout lead. I believe it's 1343. I'm not sure. It's around that area, but she's I know Monday she had 14 strikeouts, I believe, and over the weekend, in a head-to-head battle with undefeated Susquehanna, I believe she had 12. So, congratulations, Liz. And on that note, we'll shout out to the Juniata softball team. They are now ranked 5th in the state. And I believe that the other teams that are ahead of them are Quad A teams. So they are starting to get some state recognition. So deservedly so.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This one is a shout out to Bellefonte Little Leaguer Mason Jackson of the Knights, who had his first career home run. So hopefully the first of many in his career.
Yeah. Congratulations.
I'll save the Trent Hadley shout out for you.
That was something, wasn't it?
Oh, it was great. It was great.
Toughest weight class in the country in the trials. He finishes 3rd. Top 3 make the U.S. national team, so he can represent America in many different tournaments. Just a great job. He on his way to the title. He the 4 guys he beat combined won 10 national championships in college.
How big was the win against Staraki? Just to get things going.
Big. And I'm not taking anything away from Trent, though. Starachi does have a bad leg. He's wrestled injured. He's going to need surgery, I think. But yeah, still, we went out and beat him, and then he beat Mark Hall, another Penn State great, all-time great, and then he beat Alex Derringer, who was a 3-time national champ from Oklahoma State, and Zahid Valencia, Arizona State, was a 2-time national champ. So, congratulations, awesome. Trent.
Yes, Trent.
Way to go.
Now we'll say we'll go to the Mifflin County Eagles 9U baseball team. Over the weekend, they won the Future Stars, bringing the Heat tournament in Camp Hill. They went 2-0 in pool play, 2-0 in bracket play, and beat the Cedar Cliff Colts 12-0 in a 3-inning game. And then to finish things off, they beat the Jarrettsville Hawks out of Maryland 13-3 to win the championship. Awesome job, guys.
Nice.
And that concludes the shout outs.
All right, before we get out of here, I got an update. Mifflin County baseball swept the doubleheader of Altoona. They had a doubleheader because it was postponed once with the weather. They beat them 6-1 in the first game, 11-4 in the second game, and that's now the 4th. They've won 4 out of their last 5, the Huskies, to go to 6-4. So after a 2-3 start, they go
2-3.
Yeah, they go 4-1. So way to go for Mifflin County baseball.
Yeah, and the teams they got defeated by, like the Bellefonte game, 1 run. So this team's, I believe, with that win, that puts them at. They're able to be qualified for the postseason, correct?
Yeah, I think so. You have to have Mifflin County's rules. You have to have either a 500 record overall, 500 record in the conference, or a 500 record against District 6 competition. So yeah, I think that they've beaten State College and Altoona twice. That puts them in.
Nice. And while we're talking Mifflin County, I got an update on the Mifflin County softball teams.
Go for it.
They also beat Altoona in both games. First game 18-1, and the second game 10-0. So I believe they are now eligible postseason.
Yeah, I think
play,
that puts them same record as the baseball, 6-4. Awesome.
Yeah, so it's a good day to be a Husky.
Yes. Absolutely. Anything else, Mr. V?
Nope. I think that's it. It's been a great show. I don't want to ruin it.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. We went half hour over. You know how it is. When we start talking, who knows how long it'll be. Yeah, who knows how long it'll be. All right, that's going to do it for Kenny and I. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back again next Wednesday. Thank you for tuning into the Press Box like you do. Have a great rest of your week and an even better weekend. Talk to you later. See you, everybody.
Good night, everybody.